This is the final game of the draft. So I'm playing against Adam, who I played against in one of my previous videos. He's a very good player. So we'll see how this goes. That's a pretty good start. Eli's a great piece of ice. I would have liked one more piece of ice, but it's a pretty good start. Probably need to keep that. So I have some good news. I just purchased a polarizing filter and a new microphone, which means that there should be slightly less glare than usual, and the sound quality should be better on these recordings. So I should have those in about another week or two.
Mandatory draw. Okay.
Adam takes a mulligan.
First click, hedge fund.
Get a nice burst of money off the start here. Those hedge funds were probably the best picks of the day for me. I think I had an opportunity to get another Eli in the draft. I probably should have gotten it, but I think there was something like a hedge fund against it, so tough call. Alright, so I installed the pad campaign out. Leaving R&D open. It seemed like a pattern for most of these games that I would leave one of my two central servers open. Archives, of course, is a central server, but not really. Not until it's relevant. So he gets a nice burst of money as well. Gonna get a free look at R&D. And so he sees a Chimera, which means he's gonna have to go search out for an icebreaker. He's gonna want his Crypsis probably. Otherwise that Chimera is gonna be a little bit hard to deal with. Alright, so he sees the pack pan, he trashes it without hesitation. Which, yeah, the runners are doing that type of thing a lot this draft. Which I think makes sense, because that pack pan represents a huge amount of my econ with only 30 cards. So I do have some agendas in hand, so I definitely want to get the Eli rezzed. Yeah, the pack pan represents a big part of my economy with only 30 cards. So if they could, trash the pad campaign, then they've done a lot of work already.
Okay.
Those aren't the agendas I really want to be seeing right now. I'd rather see a Nisei. I'd rather see a 3 for 2. But I decided to try and use that Chimera to score out the PSF. If I could get an early lead, even though the PSF's not really going to be helping me too much, if I could get an early lead, unfortunately, yeah, so he grabs it with an inside job. So yeah, I was saying in another video, but in this format with the mask and the shadow, these are just generic IDs. You don't know anything going in. You don't know what the deck's going to look like at all. Whereas if you saw Gabe or Andy there, I would never take that risk there with that agenda, because of course they're going to have an inside job. So he probably only has one of those inside jobs in his deck. I mean, maybe two. But that's probably a pretty strong pick for the runners, just because it is such a surprise card in this format.
Second click.
Alright, so I do the same thing. This time with a better agenda. Unfortunately, this means that if he does run on that remote, so he just sees a non-offset. If he does run on that remote, I'm going to have to res the Chimera. That'll take me down to 2 credits, which means that starting next turn, I would not be able to score out that Nisei. So I'm really counting on him not to run that remote this turn. That would be the best outcome. So he's drawn a couple cards, 1 click left. Maybe he doesn't go on the remote. Other than building up some econ, he doesn't have a whole lot else better to do, though. Okay, yes, he's get Dinosaurus online. If he gets like a Crypsis on that Dinosaurus, that's a pretty good play. Does allow me to score out this Nisei, though. But now I'm in a pretty bad position. It's nice to have the Nisei scored, but I only have 1 credit, and R&D is still wide open. So he's going straight in there. Sees a roto turret.
Strategy's not going to work out for him for long.
Yeah, I'm commenting that my strategy, I don't know if you want to call it that, but of just leaving R&D wide open is not a good long-term strategy.
Okay.
So he just takes some money. So I need to...
Take credits.
Yeah, that's what I needed to do. Although I think I put the rotor turret down, so I'm not going to be able to res that.
Okay.
But got lucky. He did not see an agenda. He probably should have seen at least one agenda now in R&D, so I'm getting a little lucky there. But I'll take it. So he draws a card, second click. I did hear of some of the other court players in this during this draft were decking themselves, just because you have like 19 fewer cards than you're used to playing with, and that just forces you to play super fast, way faster than you're used to playing. Like you can't just build up huge ice forts and put agendas down. You have to exploit the early game, like take risks like I did with this PSF and this Nisei. You can't be thinking too far ahead. You can't be like, well, I could score this out now, but I wouldn't have enough money for the blah blah blah. You have to just kind of execute now, just do something now. So I got an archer. Now I need an agenda scored to res that archer, and I prefer not to use the Nisei, so I'm getting ready for that archer here. Putting down the posted bounty. So I got to advance that 3 times, which I can do on my next turn, assuming he doesn't get in and steal it. But it seems pretty likely, because I could res that Chimera, and yeah, so he's sick of this remote server nonsense, so I gotta res this. Which is fine, it'll keep him out. He's only, I think it looks like he's got 1 credit, so there's not a lot. Oh, he gets Beal. So this is where that plan starts to break down, start leaking agendas. So I'm thinking ahead here, trying to get this archer online, and he is exploiting the fact that I'm so focused on. I always forget to de-res the Chimera. But, I mean, you don't forget once you run on the server. It's like, oh, that Chimera shouldn't be resed. Yeah, so he's just exploiting the fact that I'm have plans with the remote to exploit R&D, get in there. So I had the hedge fund. I wanted to score that posted bounty, but I decided that the game hasn't changed too much on his side of the table. So I should have one more turn where I can keep that posted bounty down in the remote and score it out on the following turn. It should be pretty safe. And if he does manage to get in, okay, he got a posted bounty. It's not great, and that puts him at 1 more agenda point to win, but it wouldn't lose me the game necessarily. So he just builds up some money. Takes 3 credits, so he's at 5. Drops down a Dyson. Doesn't really need the memory right now. Okay, great, I got a accelerated beta test. So now a good play here is I score this posted bounty, then I put that archer down somewhere, wherever I think I'm weakest, which I probably need to put it on the remote. Put the archer down on the following turn, put the accelerator down on the following turn. And then I'm 1 agenda away from winning, and that I have 2 of the breaking news in hand, which I can score out of hand. So there's a good chance here. There's some possibilities. I decide not to. I'm trying to remember why I didn't score at the posted bounty. I guess okay, yeah. I mean, that's fair. R&D is my weakest server at this point, so I'd rather not have to res the roto turret till I had a shot of killing one of his programs. Rather res something cheaper. And I put the archer down. So I am setting up for that play eventually, but I'm 1 turn behind where I could have been. I have to be really smart with my money here because I don't have more money coming in. So it's kind of like I get those sure gambles, I get those hedge funds, you know what I mean. And I play them, and that's kind of my econ. Oh yeah, but with the archer I'd lose the posted bounty, so then I would need to score another 2 points. It's still doable. Once I get that archer resed, I have a pretty secure remote. He's not going to want to be going into that remote.
I'll take 2.
So he just built up some more money. He's got a way into HQ now, though, with that corroder. It's pretty costly, though. At this point, he'd probably want to just click through. Alright, so I score out the posted bounty.
Hold on, I have to discard a card. Okay.
Throw out a nice. Oh yeah, I could biotic labor out the accelerated beta test. So all I really need to do here is score the Nisei. And I have an Archer I could res, I have a Nisei token. I am going to need a lot of money to make this all happen though. So he gets into HQ with the corroder. Oh yeah, he has Ice Carver, so that's helping him out there. So he just sees a wall static. He needs to, if he gets some reoccurring credits, if he put down like a Magnum Opus or even a Armitage, then those HQ runs are probably making more sense. He must have some plan of what he wants to install in that Dinosaurus, because he didn't put the corroder on there. Although the corroder would have helped him a lot with getting into HQ. Would have only cost him 2 credits then. But it's cost him 3 right now with the Ice Carver, so I guess you don't want to sort of waste a Dinosaurus on a corroder. Okay, so I get the Nisei down. I am baiting him into that server. And he can't deal with an Archer, so he'd lose the corroder. But I will not have enough to score out that Nisei in the following turn. So yeah, this is where it's really not great, is when I'm like in 1 turn off from where I want to be. So he loses the corroder. He didn't totally need it at this point in the game, although that is a really killer icebreaker in this format. You're so used to seeing corroder and constructed, you take it for granted, but yeah, I'm sure that's a first pick type of situation for runner drafting.
Okay, no res. Okay, no res. Okay.
Alright, so I don't have enough money to res any of that junk, so he gets in, sees a Hadrian's.
All things considered, that probably wasn't the worst Archer.
And, you know, I have a potential problem here. If he does have an emergency, the last player I played against had an emergency shutdown.
Okay.
But, yeah, if that Archer got emergency shutdown, something like that, that would be a really bad situation. Because I just realistically want to be able to res it again before running out of cards.
I'm going to take 2, 3 credits.
So I just build up some money. The next turn I could use 3 credits to score out the Nisei. And then I could probably just put down the accelerator beta test into that remote and score it out on the following turn. Take 3 to score out the Nisei. The next turn I would have to take some money and put down the accelerated, and then the following turn I'd be able to score out the accelerated. That's assuming, you know, that's like I can't res any of the R&D ice, so it's assuming he doesn't get an R&D and steal another agenda. It's making a lot of assumptions, so that's kind of how I felt I had to play during this whole draft event, is I just had to make a lot of assumptions, hope to get lucky. Like I didn't feel like there was a lot of, like I had a lot of control over this situation, which wasn't a great feeling. I probably needed a better deck. I think that's what that's telling me. I kind of feel like a good way to go in Corp drafting, and I might try it next time I draft Corp, is to just focus on getting a lot of econ, like at least 3 more econ cards than what I had in this deck. And then Big Ice. Big Ice seemed to go around. Not everyone was grabbing Big Ice. So get Big Ice. Don't get a lot of Big Ice. Just get, you know, with 30 cards, probably get like 7, 8 pieces of ice. Something like that. Maybe 10. And then the rest of your cards, you're I guess you could get a little more ice, because I was thinking you're going to use priority requisitions. You're just going to try and flat keep them out of your servers. Like, like, you know, how you used to try and play when you first started playing Netrunner. Just, they're not getting in anywhere. So just get a lot of money cards, get some really big ice, not a lot of ice, and then just play with priority requisitions. And, you know, be good with, like, res a Hadrian's Wall to protect your priority rec, and then score their priority rec on the next turn and res another Hadrian's Wall or something like that. Res a toll booth. And so, like, it would just, it would take a lot of money, but you build a lot of money into your deck, and then it snowballs. So every priority, you just need to score 2 priority recs too. So I might try that sort of strategy next time, unless if something jumps out at me. Unless if, like, oh, I could get a lot of net damage cards, something like that. It just feels like that'd be more effective. Because when I did manage to res a big piece of ice during this this draft, I felt really powerful. I felt like that remote server was pretty secure, especially with a Chimera behind it. I mean, it just costs Crypsis 6 to get the strength, another 4 to break. All right, so this is what he was looking for then. So he installs the Fem. He's deciding what to target. You're thinking, oh, maybe you would target the Archer? But it's not saving that much money, because with the Fem on Dinosaurus, it's only 2 to get the strength and then 4 to break. So it's 6 money versus 4 money with using the Fem's bypass ability. So he probably doesn't want to put it on the Archer. So yeah, he sticks it on the R&D. He's deciding to focus on R&D, which is probably smart. He only really needs like one more agenda win, one more 2-pointer, and he's gonna win. So if he could just get into R&D a few more times, it's probably gonna. So this is a good position to be in. I have 2 Nisei counters and I have an Archer resed. However, I'm only at 2 money. So I need to get lucky here, because I don't think this resonance stuff's going to make sense. I believe that's a chum. So, yeah, he could pay 1 to bypass that. But more importantly, underneath that is just a roto turret. So he could break the roto turret for 2 money, just ignore the chum. So that server is kind of offline.
No res. Okay. No res. Okay.
Definitely wouldn't make sense to res the chum, because I would only have 1 money left, and I just wouldn't be able to res what's behind it.
Okay.
I think he would probably call my bluff on that.
Mandatory draw.
Oh, but I don't know if I was looking at this, but if I put the chum in front of the chum, that's pretty good. Yeah, that would be a good play.
Install.
So I think I decided to let R&D possibly leak another agenda. This is where I just decided to try and play fast and take risks, because he still can't really get into that remote server. He could pay, you know, like 6 money to get through the Archer, but then he has a Chimera behind that he can't get through, and I have 2 end the run tokens. So it all depends on this. I'm not going to res this stuff. If he gets an agenda, he wins. So he sees an aggressive Secretary, which means he can take another run in. So this is his 2nd click.
Do it again.
And I'm deciding if I want to try and use the Nisei tokens, but he still has 2 clicks left. So even if I burn 2 Nisei tokens, he'd still be able to look at that top card R&D, and there's nothing I can do to stop him. So I'd rather like try and protect the remote from.
Yeah.
I don't know, if he has no inside job or something, it'd be better to use the Nisei tokens rather than res that Chimera, because then I can score that agenda out next turn. So I gotta just let him look at the top of R&D. There's no real choice here. Just hope that I get lucky, basically. A lot of my 2-pointers have already been stolen or are in my hand. I think I have another one. Is there another one in my hand, I think? If I get lucky. So I got lucky. Hedge fund. So now, there might be an agenda in hand that he can't get through HQ now. Yeah, no, that this game's over, because he needs to run to get in, and I have 2 Nisei tokens. So if there's any risk, I can just Nisei token. And I have the accelerated beta test down. So scoring with those 2 Niseis really helped out. I'm trying to think if there's some way something he could do, but those Nisei tokens are. So he's just the best thing he could hope for at this point is that I don't have an agenda down in that remote. Or something like a 4-point agenda. He's trying to figure out if there's something that could be done, though. It's funny how little these icebreakers were used in this game, but at the same time how important they were. Like, I wasn't... Alright, he's using Maker's Eye, I think last click, and I just decided to end it before anything. Just
The mandatory draw, and then, yeah, advance 3 times.
So I was able to score out the accelerated beta test, and that's the first win of the day. And it was based on I mean, he had a lot of R&D accesses, and he got the Beal off of that. Did he get the PSF? I think he got the PSF out of my hand, but he definitely got the Beal out of R&D when he probably should have. You know, he statistically or whatever, he probably should have had more agendas off R&D. But that's the last game of the draft. So I am actually tomorrow, Sunday the 12th, or the 13th of April, I'm going to be hosting another draft at Games of Berkeley, and I plan to record some more then. I will try and draft runner, so I'll have a runner deck, assuming I play. I might not play if we have an even number of players in the draft. But I'll do some recording in any case, and I'll have some more videos from that up on the channel. The following weekend, the next Sunday, we have a normal constructed tournament, Games of Berkeley, so I'll definitely have some games from that as well. And I'd love some feedback on how you all, you know, what you think of the channel, what you think of these videos, what kind of videos you want more of, want less of, all that kind of stuff would be great to hear. In any case, thanks for watching, and there'll be more soon.